The courtroom was colder than I expected. Not just the temperature, the kind of cold that seeps into your bones and makes you feel small. The wooden benches were polished but scarred, like they'd absorbed decades of regret, lies, and broken families. Every cough echoed, every shuffle of shoes sounded like judgment. I sat at the defendant's table, hands folded so tightly in my lap my knuckles had turned white. I kept my eyes forward, afraid that if I looked back, I'd see the familiar faces already whispering. My name was Isha Malik. And today, my own father was here to make sure everyone remembered that. Across the aisle, my dad sat tall in a crisp suit, navy blue, tailored, expensive. He looked exactly like he always did, confident, composed, respected. The kind of man people trusted instantly, the kind of man judges nodded at. The kind of man who had spent my entire life reminding me I was a disappointment. I hadn't spoken to him in over 3 years, not since the night he told me to pack my things and leave if I insisted on embarrassing the family. Yet here he was, my key witness. When the judge entered, everyone stood. The bailiff announced her presence and the room snapped to attention. Judge Eleanor Whitmore. She was older than I expected, silver hair pulled neatly back, sharp eyes that missed nothing. When she sat, the room exhaled. This court is now in session, she said calmly. The case was simple on paper. I was being sued by my father. For fraud. He claimed I had stolen money from the family business during the year I worked as an unpaid assistant, before I was kicked out. I hadn't taken a cent. But he had documents, statements, witnesses. And a reputation. My lawyer, Mr. Khan, leaned toward me. Stay calm, he whispered, let him talk. That was easier said than done. When my father was called to the stand, the room seemed to straighten. He walked with confidence, right hand raised, voice steady as he swore to tell the truth. Then he sat down, folded his hands, and looked directly at me for the first time in years. There was no warmth in his eyes. Only irritation. The prosecutor asked him to describe our relationship. He didn't hesitate. She's always been difficult, he said, shaking his head slightly. Unfocused, emotional, not suited for responsibility. A few people in the gallery nodded. I stared at the table. He continued, warming to his role. I gave her chances, education, a place in the family business, and what did she do? She disrespected our values, questioned my authority, and then money started disappearing. That was the moment he turned fully toward me. In my honest opinion, he said loudly, my daughter is an embarrassment. The word hit me like a slap. A few gasps rippled through the courtroom. My chest tightened, my throat burned. I felt 16 again, standing in the living room while he told relatives I was too loud, too stubborn, not like other girls. The prosecutor asked, and you believe she intentionally stole from you? Yes, my father replied without blinking, that's who she is. I expected the judge to interrupt. She didn't. She simply watched him closely. When my lawyer stood for cross-examination, my father smirked as if this was already over. Mr. Malik, my lawyer began, you said money went missing during the year my client worked with you. Yes. And during that same year, did you change your company's accounting software? My father hesitated, yes, but. And did you, at that time, give my client access to the master account? No. So she couldn't move funds without your authorization. Silence. My father cleared his throat, technically no. The smirk faded. My lawyer continued, you also testified that you kicked her out for disrespecting family values. Could you explain what you meant? My father's jaw tightened. She refused an arranged engagement. She wanted to work independently, she argued. So my lawyer said evenly, she disobeyed you. She humiliated me, my father snapped, in front of relatives. The judge's pen paused. My lawyer nodded slowly. One last question, did you ever audit your business after she left? Yes. And did that audit find any proof of theft? My father hesitated again. No, he admitted, but that doesn't mean. Thank you, my lawyer said, no further questions. My father looked annoyed but unconcerned. He returned to his seat, still convinced his word was enough. Then something unexpected happened. Judge Whitmore leaned forward. Not dramatically, not loudly. But deliberately. Mr. Malik, she said, her voice calm but firm, I have a few questions. The room went completely silent. My father straightened, of course, Your Honor. She glanced down at her notes, then back at him. You described your daughter as an embarrassment. Could you clarify, was that relevant to the alleged financial misconduct, or was that personal? My father blinked, well, it explains her character. The judge tilted her head slightly, does it? He shifted, I was trying to be honest. Honesty is not cruelty, Judge Whitmore replied. This court is concerned with facts, not humiliation. I felt something loosen in my chest. She continued, you also stated that no audit found evidence of theft, yet you pursued legal action anyway. Yes, he said defensively, because I know my daughter. Judge Whitmore's eyes sharpened. No, Mr. Malik, she said, you know your authority, those are not the same thing. A murmur rippled through the gallery. My father opened his mouth, then closed it. The judge wasn't finished. I've reviewed the financial records. The discrepancies you pointed out occurred after your daughter left the company. My heart started pounding. She flipped a page. And they correlate with a loan you took out when you failed to disclose. My father's face drained of color. Is there a reason, the judge asked, you attempted to place responsibility on your daughter rather than disclose your own financial mismanagement? I object, the prosecutor stammered. Judge Whitmore raised a hand, overruled. She looked directly at my father. This court will not be used to settle wounded pride. The silence was suffocating. Then she turned to me. Ms. Malik, she said gently, stand up, please. My legs trembled as I stood. For the record, she continued, there is no evidence that you committed fraud. Tears burned my eyes. In fact, she said, there is considerable evidence that you were scapegoated. My father stared straight ahead, jaw clenched, unable to look at me. Judge Whitmore addressed the room. Parents do not own their children, and authority does not excuse abuse, financial or emotional. She banged the gavel. Case dismissed. For a moment no one moved. Then the courtroom erupted into whispers. I sat down slowly, hands shaking, breath coming in short bursts. My lawyer smiled quietly and squeezed my shoulder. Across the room, my father stood stiffly, his reputation crumbling in real time. As people filed out, he finally looked at me. There was no apology in his eyes. Only shock. As if he just realized the world no longer bent to his voice. Judge Whitmore stopped me as I was leaving. Ms. Malik, she said softly, you did well. I swallowed, thank you, Your Honor. She nodded, live well, that's the best verdict. Outside, the sun felt warmer than it had in years. I didn't look back at my father. For the first time in my life, I didn't need his approval to stand tall. I walked away free.